Now, before we begin, pay attention. Due to Drake's current and increased popularity, his admirers are furious with everyone and influencing their belief in conspiracy theories in order to compensate for his just no longer the most popular man. In rap or in music, well, we will actually require assistance today. Thus, make sure to go. Subscribe and like. It's really helpful to me. Tons. Additionally, with the additional help of simply exposing the outright heresy that, well, the more individuals that can put the situation we're in context. Observing and realizing that you should not have faith in a mature guy who inks other men, arranges the streamer field on their arms, does this on stage or trips. And now, if you're prepared to observe how I also simply had another encounter with Pusha T last night. Be sure to subscribe, like, and stay tuned for the conclusion of that tale. Having said that, the moment when it comes from Degrassi to Jimmy Brooks, given what just transpired, there is both positive and negative news. And now, let's talk about the excellent news. One encouraging development is that Drake has failed to meet the objectives once more, thing he desires, and the current situation that became commonplace in the time when he presented a concert in the worst location ever. This was simply that, regardless of the piece, whatever garbage he could have released, the song went to the top. And that's why for Drake, over the course of his career, unless he was prevented by such as Midnight and Taylor Swift's album and Her Loss did not receive a #1 or higher rating. Life was being obstructed by the achievement of Damn by Kendrick Lamar, and especially songs like DNA, Humble, Love, and Loyalty. Following actual songs that peaked at #1 earlier in his career, as you may argue, suddenly the top spot to songs like What's Then, CLB's Way to Slime You Out, and such. Wouldn't you serve? That Slime You Out was a song that really one of Drake's albums puts on his jacket in an attempt to be more willing than ever to treat Michael disrespectfully Jackson. Since, naturally, in the end, ultimately, a large portion of the motivation for Drake is only doing this to outdo his record and make an effort to appear superior and more significant than him. Due to, when you truly think about it, and even with FPS about all of his activities and what has been happening, well, the entire aforementioned record's second half, which was the music video's reflection, was simply Drake's assertion that he is once more making an effort to establish himself as someone who is superior than him. Okay, so now Drake could be on the verge of defeating this record. He needs to wake up, because MJ is from a time when, for a song to be considered a meme, it has to be a top-ranked record. And apparently, in the regardless, we are in the dot era. Drake supporters wish to believe, okay? To a certain extent, this is still the standard. Given that Drake's confessional, "What did I miss when the icebox crashed?" okay? To the amazement of many, this song has become Drake's first album to not simply drop off immediately after. And currently, with all of the Drake's campaigning efforts for himself in terms of only collecting Gornd, everyone who rejects you and loses, perhaps it could. Now, what did I do? Miss has turned into a popular anthem, who failed to recognize the fact that we are all comprehensible. And so, well, considering the commotion and bustle around the Drake has received a musical record. #2 on the silver medal, the Hot 100 on Billboard. With this, rather of being modest and embracing this second figure would be significant for him during this period when, in addition to Nokia, he hasn't done anything for a long time. Additionally, with the debut, this did somewhat superior to all of his other songs released. Drake has once more dropped since the beef, like more than 50 recordings. Now, naturally, since this is Drake, and to be truthful, despite the success that this song has given him, he has only succeeded in creating such an obnoxious following by simply being the Legion of Losers commander and dull. And to stay on top of this, well, there's always someone fresh to be angry at. And take responsibility for your failure instead of just coming to rest anywhere because it's your own actions. Additionally, even though it appears as Drake's status as the rap and music version of the single man in charge of that one group, and you understand what I mean. And the connection with Morgan Wallen truly showed that. Drake, however, had this. In reference to receiving a number 2 on the A song on the Billboard Hot 100 that no one but Hype and the Loser's Beast didn't even come close. Okay, so now prior to speaking the words themselves, Drake started by placing a few of these faces that I've never really seen, even used by someone else, which lets us remember what the mature man is doing over here. This, but now for the real. Remarks he says that Drake made here, Suppressor on the number 1 spot. Along with him, then added an emoji of laughter. Then he went on to say, I'm taking that too soon. It's one song, don't worry. Or another modification in the rules, etc. Well, to begin with this Alex Warren's record and Drake's call the Suppressor is normal. Really though, given that this individual who has what we've observed thus far from his period within the realm of music, Alex Warren is a very sincere and pleasant, the individual being referred to as Drake's suppressor, and Drake will now send these obnoxious individuals and followers that visit his website only to be bothered him, after which they will consider that he is included in this larger plot to prevent him. Okay? This one time once again demonstrates Drake's softness as they create him. Additionally, when it's not a rapper, and once more, this is a man who is simply so unproductive and who wouldn't do anything besides perhaps discussing if he is asked in an interview. Well, he'll write something along these lines and tell him his narrative and behave in this manner. Be the big tough guy and deal with it head on. Similar to how he handles LeBron James or anyone who is unable to enter the booth. And his career would be over for that issue. However, going beyond this with the Drake's remaining remarks and his demeanor pretending that the regulations were altered to prevent him and the way he will get. This song appears on MJ's album, but then it will be the next one if he doesn't succeed. So Drake must, of course, set up for that, as it very likely won't occur. With all of this, we are seeing Drake perform a masterclass in his actions, which are only causing him to lose all of your peers' admiration and the industry feasible and, in reality, any of the important thing is room. And speaking now concerning this number 2, which is coming up, let's be honest. The sole explanation why it's even the primary reason for this is because everywhere there are swindlers, losers, and rejects who don't believe that regular music and other media and once again experience typical feelings that are communicated with everything. Simply adore because it reminds them to harbor resentment towards everyone for the worst possible reasons. Never assuming responsibility, followed by just constantly causing issues each and every location you visit again. As this is this record's audience, and this is the reason Drake is present at all, where he is able to speak in this way. Okay, once more, Drake is only demonstrating his lack of self-knowledge. And he is demonstrating how he is truly poisonous throughout the entire song, the entire planet. Additionally, with Drake, he is playing the entire game, placing the blame for repression and the label for something essentially non-existent since the music may be found on playlists and it working on streaming numbers. Okay, so this must cease since it's the largest, the most crooked thing I've seen in a long time in this sector. Additionally, with relation to every one of the phony detectives with these, there are theories out there regarding almost anything. Now it's just the concepts and the rhetoric Drake is using here to serve as a crutch since he is failing. Meaning that items like this is such a huge issue. Additionally, it's why his followers are so accountable for the single-handedly greatest items you'll encounter in the music industry. Consequently, with this, Drake is claiming he is being silenced by "I'm not sure about the industry and anything." The number of times we've had to inform him, however. Let's just do it right here and truly put into perspective as we are able to right now. Drake remains a member of UMG, and Tune's NBA games have made use of devices like Nokia and similar things such as Drake is. And Kendrick's music remains playing on the playlist, and he continues to work with well-known brands, such as The Simpsons and the NFL, both post-meet as well as everything else. Okay, when you store the games that are attempting to restore Drake's dominance by making people think that a phony victim exists. Intricate and blatantly manipulative strategy. Drake recently released a song that tried everything to avoid becoming the number one. But in the end, I simply went number 2 fair and square, and to this from Nokia. Okay, actually, this could be Drake's zenith. Something he ought to be appreciative of, since he shouldn't even be on these, really. Graph showing how he has put the whole musical future. And once more, with perhaps it's the way Drake creates songs. And it's the atmosphere or the lyrics that are so strange and repulsive, even if the song's melody and tone are pleasant. The ethics and disposition of the man on exhibit is so filthy and rotten, which, in my opinion, has been the demise of Drake is actually the best overall. In addition to several other causes, and the most effective technique for me to viewpoint for any Drake admirers who are attempting to irritate while listening me. Which, if you haven't already, made sure to subscribe and leave a like. Hence, they are unable to. When we examine records such as Squabble, Up, or Luther, they simply possess a groove that lends it a broad appeal. Additionally, they continue to maintain integrity of their character, which is something that Drake wouldn't be able to. However, in reality, when you examine a document such as What Did I Miss?, it just lacks all of these. Anything at all. And for that reason, Drake is never going to be the top song. Additionally, it's not because of these quotes suppressors, okay? Who only tell lies, but once more. The reason is that the music doesn't possess widespread appeal. Nor has it produced a significant enough cultural occasion to cause overwork through. These radio items, such as Not Like Us, accomplished something similar. And once more, to complete the circle, when you wish to discuss industry inhibition from the labels, collaborating with Kendrick Lamar on a song that you were not permitted to release. Instead, you had to sacrifice 7 figures in order to depart from that label to exit the transaction you were in. When you eventually dropped this song was on the album, and the industry didn't want to obstruct you, desired it, and Death had the same label. You were under jam, and the larger the label ultimately releases a surprise album by Justin, its most popular artist, Bieber. After they had explained how they were afraid of this situation's appearance, Kendrick and Pusha T's song From Ever being for more than a year, the first location. Once more, they are autonomous and not employed alongside the majors. This is what the real what suppression looks like. And this is what, in fact, it seems as though the business is attempting to lessen a song's impact, and what an album and an artist can create. And now, the strange thing about this is that, considering what has transpired with it, so the sole motive is to shove a T and clip. The reason this appears to have occurred is because they were attempting to stay away from more problems with Drake initially. I'm referring to Push once more with the last first name Karen, first name Lubri, or call him anything you like. Blocking his expression and music were things they have been doing consistently since Push ultimately caused him to feel offended on the added-on story is a bit too much. Additionally, after we reach this complete circular moment of the existence of actually, there is industry suppression occurring, and it's still only from Drake in some way. Despite all Drake has completed, it seems as though there is a game being played here. Additionally, this is the reason Drake is attempting with relation to this entire anti-industry, his dual nature as a victim and a villain moving. Everything is only a performance, angle to grasp and nothing more. And once more, when you analyze the data of the What Did I Miss streams and the Alex Warren radio play, and observe that everything accumulates, and it's evident that no action is being taken to halt Drake, and the fact that the record is just larger compared to Drake. What did I miss? Spilling. Which once more, deep within, he is aware of this. regardless of whether he wishes to acknowledge it. You'll just notice that we're going in the wrong direction since he's only raising the ire of these strange supporters. It's almost single thing he attempts to believe that he has a victim complex simply become worse and worse. However, what I'll say now is that it's as bad as Drake is creating and using the he wishes to create memories with all the rage is coming from delusion. I am beginning to feel hopeful about this, the whole hip-hop and music stuff for the first time in ages. Because at this moment, and what actually occurred to me, well, I went out and had one last night. Of the greatest encounters with this genre that many others, including myself, adore. And that incident led me to the conclusion, where I ultimately found myself in the same location accompanied by one of the greatest rappers in Pusha T at the moment. And it seemed like we were there together, carrying out the same action, which was rather calm given his hectic schedule. Additionally, as it appeared that I was doing and what Push ultimately went to was an event honoring the largest clipster in Push's eyes. And Tyler himself, the creator, who has only recently begun to play for straight performances in New York, with Madison Square Garden for 2, followed by 2 at the Barley Center after that. And I really won't be talking much now regarding the actual performance, as I want to avoid ruining it if you haven't seen it, because it is so very famous that you just must witness it for yourself. And every surprise, as well as entering lack of knowledge, will just be such more incredible. Well, still no disclosure of any surprises. What I will state is that in addition to what the GNX Tour is showing us from Chromacopia Arena, home of Kendrick, Tyler, one of the greatest live experiences is run. I have visited and will continue to visit, considered to be among the top Raptor excursions of forever, since I genuinely worked as a tour guide and witness too. Many of these performances at these kinds of venues never saw someone use the arena's landscape to both bring more vitality, but more significantly, provide us with into their album's universe and also as much as Tyler's career. And now Pusha T's attendance at this performance, Tyler seemed to have made an even greater effort than typical. Additionally, he did something that was so rapping his lyric from point of view over the rusty off-Wolf's beat, which was just incredible to witness. However, at this moment where rap still seems like it disintegrating as a result of all the clowning about these wonderful things, in my opinion, they are just the most significant individuals in the whole rap business, except for Lamar, Kendrick. Additionally, each of these 3 performers from this era have provided us with iconic level content. And what I wish to depart from you must just demonstrate the impact. With this album that Clips is creating it, Tyler's remarks towards them during the show, some of which I will play, that at the moment,
two of the greatest rappers of all time. These got a new album out called Let God Sort 'Em Out, and I swear to God, look that album up and just listen. Shut the and listen, all right? Shout out Pusha, shout out Malice, and thank y'all for laying the groundwork with the re-up game mixtapes that allowed me to make this album right here.
And so with this, when you really get to see stuff like this,
therefore, when you truly get to see such things and experience rap in its purest form, it was all very hip-hop. Starting with Tyler's set to promote being there. On the other hand, you might observe that, in the end, all of this absurd Drake nonsense exists. Ultimately, with someone like Tyler, who has cultivated his career and consistently been open and truthful with his followers. He is currently experiencing unprecedented levels of success, since that is the only way he is left to attempt to give himself some kind of distinct identity. Drake is leaning more into this than ever before, as he is once again constructing a house of cards on falsehoods. Eventually, it will all fall apart, just like anything that is badly constructed. After all of this, tell me what you think of Drake's recent actions and all he is attempting to promote regarding the failure of his song. And what do you anticipate happening next? It's obvious that this record is just going to get worse from here. And Drake will only continue to say strange and offensive things that will only harm the music industry as a whole. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on all of this right now. Additionally, please let me know if you've seen the Chromacopia tour and share your thoughts about it. Tyler's performance and anything else you know about that record and the Clips album. Right now, I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Please remember to subscribe and give a like if you watched the entire video. It is really helpful to me. And now, if you want to see how Drake departed the UK just before this, making things much more strange between us and UK rappers while also making Travis Scott's new album less successful, watch the suggested video.